Hey there, welcome back to the podcast. It's Jake here, and I've got something really special for you today. I promise that if you stick with me until the end of this episode, you're going to give your English vocabulary a huge boost and take your listening skills to the next level. Trust me, it's worth it. So let's not waste any time and jump right into today's story. It was a quiet evening, and I was at home, just winding down after a long day. The soft glow of the lamp lit up the room, casting long shadows on the walls. The warm light danced gently across the bookshelves, illuminating the old, familiar volumes I'd collected over the years. I stretched out on the couch, feeling the comfort of the worn cushions beneath me, sinking deeper into the fabric as exhaustion slowly melted away. The day had been exhausting, filled with endless tasks and responsibilities, and I was finally allowing myself to relax. My mind beginning to drift into a state of calm. I glanced at my phone, scrolling absent-mindedly through messages and social media, but nothing seemed to catch my interest. The notifications were sparse, just a few unread emails and generic updates from apps I barely used. The room was peaceful, and the only sound was the ticking of the clock on the wall, its rhythmic pulse blending harmoniously with the quiet of the evening. I could hear the faint hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen, blending with the muffled noises from the street outside. Occasionally, the distant rumble of a passing car would break the stillness, but it quickly faded away, leaving behind a comforting silence. The atmosphere felt serene, almost as if time had slowed down to match my calm breathing. Suddenly, I heard a loud knock at the door. The sound echoed through the room, cutting through the tranquility like a knife. My heart jumped, and I sat up straight, my mind racing with thoughts about who could possibly be visiting at this hour. I wasn't expecting anyone. My heart skipped a beat as curiosity took over. Who could it be at this hour? I walked over cautiously and peeked through the peephole, holding my breath as I strained to see clearly through the tiny lens. To my surprise, it was Sam, an old friend I hadn't seen in years. A mix of emotions washed over me. Surprise, excitement, and a hint of confusion. I quickly opened the door, and there he was, standing with a huge backpack and a wide grin on his face. His clothes looked a bit dusty, as if he had been on the road for days, and his hair was slightly tousled by the wind. I noticed a few scrapes on his hands and a worn-out look in his eyes. But despite his rugged appearance, his eyes were bright, and he seemed genuinely happy to see me. "Sam, what are you doing here?" I asked, still processing his unexpected appearance, my mind racing to catch up with reality. He laughed and explained that he had been traveling across the country and just happened to be passing through town. His phone had died, and he had nowhere else to stay. The journey had been long and tiring, filled with unexpected detours and nights spent sleeping under the stars. He told me about the adventures he had been on, from hitchhiking across states to camping under the stars on deserted trails. His stories painted vivid images of endless roads, bustling rest stops, and quiet moments by crackling campfires. Of course, I couldn't turn him away, so I invited him in. I offered him a cold drink, and he dropped his heavy backpack by the door, clearly relieved to rest for a while. We spent the evening catching up, sharing stories from the past, and reminiscing about the crazy adventures we had back in college. One memory in particular had us both laughing uncontrollably. The time we got lost on a hiking trip and ended up in a tiny village where no one spoke English. We had to use hand gestures and broken phrases to find our way back. It was hilarious. We laughed until our sides hurt, and for a moment it felt like no time had passed at all. We recalled old friends, shared embarrassing stories, and marveled at how life had taken us in such different directions. As the night went on, I couldn't help but think how life has a funny way of bringing people back into your world when you least expect it. It's like fate has its own plans, pushing people into your path at just the right moment. I couldn't help but wonder how different life would be if Sam hadn't knocked on my door that evening. We stayed up late, talking about how much things had changed, how life had moved on, and how some friendships just picked up where they left off, no matter how much time had passed. It was comforting to know that, despite the years and the distance, some connections remained untouched by time. The next morning, after a hearty breakfast of scrambled eggs and toast, Sam was ready to hit the road again. We shared a few more laughs over coffee, talking about how life had changed since our college days. It felt bittersweet to see him go, but I knew that was just how life worked. People coming and going like chapters in a book. We hugged goodbye, and as I watched him walk away, I couldn't help but feel grateful for the little surprises life throws at us. Sometimes it's the unplanned moments that make the best memories, reminding us that not everything needs to be perfectly scheduled or expected. I stood there for a moment longer, taking in the crisp morning air, feeling strangely at peace with the unexpected visit. Have you ever had an unexpected guest show up at your door? How did you handle it? I'd love to hear your story, so make sure to share it in the comments. By the way, if you enjoyed this podcast, don't forget to check out the playlist in the description for more stories like this one. There's plenty to explore. And of course, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new episode. Your support means the world to us. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.